Welcome to another edition of Facts News. This week, a special focus on the new age economy.
With an in-depth look at the growing superfoods industry.
An employment boom in the crystal trade.
And a special report. Dear Lord, why?
Our in-depth look at a man with a full-time job.
All that and Lily Amy Oglesby reporting on the crisis at dance camp.
I'm Roni Krouzman.
And I'm Kristen Pimarola.
And this is Facts News. In local news, Fairfax business owners placed their hopes for an economic rebound squarely on the shoulders of local retailer Gratitude Power Crystal Chalice, which announced last Friday it would double its workforce from 1 employee to 2. Government leaders are hoping for an economic domino effect that could spread through key economic centers nationwide, such as Amherst, Ojai, and the Kalalau Valley. In other signs that new age consumerism may be our best bet for an economic recovery, a report released late last week declared the market for suspect indigenous superfoods is growing exponentially.
While sales of staple or boring foods such as rice, milk, and vegetables have declined in recent months, natural food stores can't seem to restock products such as cacao nibs and golden Inca berries fast enough.
Here to help us understand this trend, Facts News economic correspondent Ian Wright. Looking good, Ian.
Looking good, Ronnie.
Ian, to what do you attribute the boom in suspect indigenous superfoods?
Well, Ronnie, the makers of so-called superfoods such as Peruvian maca powder and Himalayan goji berries advertise their products as pretty much a cure-all for every malady out there, from lethargy and the common cold to clinical depression and even erectile dysfunction.
So you're saying that consumers tend to gravitate toward products that make unsubstantiated health claims?
Well, especially if the claim hasn't been evaluated by the FDA. Superfoods consumers love that.
Right. Now, Ian, what else is behind the success of foods with hard-to-pronounce names such as cordyceps mushrooms and acai berries?
Well, Ronnie, it seems New Age consumers are convinced that anything costing $22 a pound must be good for you. That and the ancient-looking font and visionary art on the packaging are just so seductive.
That makes sense. Now, I imagine consumers must also be drawn to the rich taste of these products.
Well, no, Kristen. They actually taste like shit.
Ian, what can consumers expect next from the suspect indigenous superfoods industry?
Well, Ronnie, a whole host of products are actually in the works, from tree snake oil super juice and rainforest omega nibs to gluten-free Mesopotamia manna bread and superfoods desserts.
Nice.
Actually, I'm most excited about a whole new line of suspect indigenous foods known as Super Duper Foods. Products with exotic names such as aronia berries and mukunya are promising clarity of mind, boundless energy, and even immortality. I'm particularly excited by a new Super Duper food grown on the big island of Hawaii, organic Super Duper food tobacco. It's shade grown and infused with the energy of the goddess Pele.
Natives smoked that for centuries and things turned out great for them.
Yes, they did.
Ian, 30 seconds left. Any advice for investors who might be thinking of placing their bets on the suspect indigenous superfoods industry? I mean, should we be playing it safe and sticking with goji berries, or should we be taking a risk on these new super duper foods?
Well, Ronnie, we believe the smart money will be heading into Super Duper Foods.
Okay, last question, Ian. Critics contend the whole superfoods industry is based on exaggerated health claims that take advantage of new age consumers who know little to nothing about science. Is this just a bubble that's waiting to burst? What's your take?
Ronnie, no. Anything that sounds indigenous and then placed in a package with concentric ovals outlining a human stick figure, we predict will do very well in today's market.
Great, thanks, Ian.
Thanks for that report, Ian.
Welcome.
Now it's time for Facts News in depth, with a special economic report we're calling Dear Lord, Why?
Our in-depth look at a man with a full-time job.
With us in the studio today, Dan Zemelman. Thanks for joining us today, Dan.
My pleasure, guys.
Now, Dan, as you know, the economy is struggling. People are having a hard time making ends meet. We hear you found a solution.
I have a full-time job, Ron.
Full-time? And what does that mean?
You know, I go into the office, put in a good 40 hours.
So you actually work 40 hours a month?
No, Ronnie, a week.
A week?
Yeah.
Dan, how can that be possible? I mean, most people I know feel pretty maxed out at 10, maybe 12 hours.
Well, you know, I get to the office at 9 and I...
Wait, help me out with my math here for a second. You get to the office at 9, which means you must wake up, what, around 5 a.m. to do your morning practice and have a healthy breakfast and just look out the window for a little while.
Not sure what you mean by morning practice, but you know, I get dressed, have my coffee, and do the hour commute.
You spend an hour every day in a car.
You have a hybrid or something?
Yeah, and then I go to work till 5, sometimes 5:30.
Okay, but you get a few hours in the middle of the day, right, to do yoga and go catch some slow food at Cafe Gratitude?
No. We usually get like half-hour lunch break, and I sit by my computer and usually eat my lunch.
Dan, you do this every day.
Well, I get weekends off, of course, yeah.
Weekends.
When you say weekend, what do you mean by that?
That would be Saturdays and Sundays.
Saturdays, 2 days. That's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dan, let me get this straight. You work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you do this for what, 2 or 3 months out of the year, or then you take another few months off to travel and come back?
No, pretty much year-round, and we got 2 weeks off for vacations and some sick days, Christmas, stuff like that.
Gosh, well, where do you fit in, retreats and Burning Man and prep for Burning Man and prep for Burning Man?
What?
Now, Dan, this career path, did it come to you in a dream or on a vision quest?
I found it on Craigslist.
Craigslist. So Eckhart Tolle had nothing to do with this.
Eckhart Tolle?
Dan, I think many of our viewers must be wondering, why are you doing this?
Well, a steady paycheck, health insurance, I get to support my family.
Family? But you can't be any older than, what, 35?
Yeah. It seems like you guys, don't have a lot to do around here, and I just remembered we're having a open house at the company next week. There might be some job openings. You guys want to come with?
I'm in silence all next week, actually.
Yeah, I'll be traveling. Well, folks, you heard it. Dan Zemelman, making his way through tough economic times by holding down a full-time job. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Facts News In Depth. Finally this week, Facts News health and wellness correspondent, Lily Amy Oglesby. Now, Lily, I hear you attended dance camp up in the mountains this week. That must have been pretty healing.
Yes, Ronnie, it was wonderful. Campers romping naked by the lakeside, dancing their chakras wide open at the evening boogies, and on the solstice, we got to dance like wild pagans around an open bonfire.
Well, that sounds great.
Oh, it was, Ronnie. Well, until 15 campers got sick with a nasty stomach bug.
Oh, really?
Yes, Ronnie. Organizers were baffled at how a highly communicable disease could spread so quickly in an environment rife with poor hygiene and unboundaried sexuality.
Lily, what are organizers doing to prevent a similar outbreak from taking place again next year?
Well, Ronnie, next year, dance camp participants will be required to eat with silverware, keep their clothing on during contact improv, and limit random smooching to at most 5 people.
And during the whole course of the week?
No, just at once.
Okay. Sounds like that should do the trick.
Yes, we're hoping next year the only gas at camp will be from the tempeh.
Thanks for that report, Lily.
You're welcome, Ronnie.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Facts News.
Find us on the web at factsnews.blip.tv.
And join us again soon for a future episode. No commitments, but...
I'm Roni Krouzman.
And I'm Kristen Fumarola.
And this is Facts News.
Where do you fit in your medical qigong, your body work, your cranial sacral sessions?
What?
What else is behind the success of foods with hard-to-pronounce names such as cordyceps mushrooms and acai berries?
Peruvian maca powder and Himalayan goji berry, tree snake oil, super juice, rainforest omega nibs, gluten-free Mesopotamian manna bread,
Goji berries.
aronia berries, and mukunya.
Now I imagine these products just must taste delicious.
No, Kristen, actually they taste like shit.